Hello.
Introduce us. Let's go. That's looking great.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land. This is those Muckrakers coming to you live once again through the power of the internet. I'm Pat.
I'm Pete.
I'm Bobby.
And this is episode number 123. And in today's episode, tell them what we'll be doing, Pete.
Oh, man. We're all going to die because of climate change. New York gets a new governor. Mike Lindell proves to us again that crackhead's going to crackhead.
And Barack Obama just turned 60, which is exciting news because that means in just 18 years, he'll be old enough to run for president.
I really enjoyed that Joe Biden on his birthday wore a tan suit. What a way to fucking stick it to the establishment.
Wait, who did? Joe Biden?
Yeah, he wore a tan suit on Obama's birthday.
Oh, that was a reference to Suitgate, tan Suitgate.
Yeah,
I bet Tucker Carlson's head must have exploded when he saw that. Oh, that Biden!
If you've been living under a rock for the last, I don't know how many years, everybody got really mad at Obama when he wore a tan suit.
Well, conservatives were told to get mad at Barack Obama for wearing a tan suit.
It was the idiot. It was the idiot ball of the week. They're like, "Oh, he wore a tan suit. Run with that."
I've been seeing so many more idiot balls since you first brought that concept up to me. In order for this plot to advance, one person has to be a total moron.
Yep.
And I've been seeing that over and over again in the current World of Warcraft storyline. I'll spare the listeners, but the story right now is so bad because it requires one person to be a total and complete moron, or else there is no story whatsoever. This entire expansion does not happen if one person's not toting the idiot ball, which is kind of relevant to one topic I was going to bring up, which is all the sexual harassment lawsuits going on at Blizzard.
Oh man, it's
kind of hard to write good stories when you're always getting groped by your boss every day.
Yeah, apparently it's also really hard to hide the really high COVID death rate numbers of people in old folks' homes when you're busy sexually harassing everybody in the governor's office.
Yeah, why are so many people sexually harassing people? They need to cut. Actually, I don't think it's that there are more these days. I think it's that we're discovering it more these days. So a lot more people were found to have, autism after we got a test for autism. And then suddenly we're like, oh, there's so many more.
After we actually started looking for it. Correlation, not just saying, oh, your son's an idiot. Here, let us bar your family the shame and throw them in this asylum.
My child was taken by the fairies and I was given a changeling. You know, my kid was replaced with a leprechaun baby, and that's why he's weird. Before we knew what autism was. Yeah. So my favorite headline for this week, I can't remember what paper it was, but it was about Cuomo stepping down, and it said Cuomo no mo.
I was about to say Cuomo is no mo,
and I was like, that's good. I like that. Yeah. So this asshole finally stepped down. So was it just the sexual harassment that got him, or was it that he tried to hide the thousands of old people that died of COVID?
I think it's because Cuomo is a bitch hoe.
Yeah, and his brother's not that much better.
I got a specific axe to grind against his brother. When I had COVID and I was trying not to die, someone sent me this Chris Cuomo video where he's like, I found it out. I figured COVID wants you to lay down. You have to get up and fight it. You have to do cardio to fight COVID. And I talked to my sister. I talked to my sister who's like a neuro ICU nurse, and she goes, "No, don't do cardio. Fucking sit your ass down and listen to your doctor. Don't listen to Chris Cuomo. He's an idiot."
Yeah.
I've hated him since then.
I mean, a lot of people have a lot of wacky theories about it because they just can't accept the fact that what they've heard about COVID is true. It has to be some kind of conspiracy, something deeper going on here than just a sickness began and now we all have it and we need to get used to that and deal with it. It's just when JFK was assassinated. It's after the book depository, there's also the guy in the grassy knoll, because presidents don't just get shot.
You know how some people are true crime nerds? I was always a plague nerd growing up. So I've been reading about this stuff since I was in middle school. So when everyone's just it's got to be made by a lab in Wuhan, China. I'm or the disgusting petri dish that is nature just makes diseases, because that's what it does.
Well, and it's also the COVID vaccine conspiracy crowd and like in a Venn diagram, the COVID-19, it's a conspiracy crowd is with the 9/11 truther crowd, it's just a circle. Like it's, you know, it's we probably have enough data at this point to just be able to start labeling people actual conspiracists. Like just, you know, if you have, you know, if you get, you know, if you get 5 holes in this punch card, we're just going to go ahead and label you a conspiracist, and we'll give you your own special verified check mark. And you know, it's.
I think it used to be that all these people, there was a couple of them,
and
everyone,
the white suits on us.
Everyone had them, and like they were all in a different neighborhood, right? Like everyone, there was like one, but they didn't know each other. They couldn't talk. And then
so there was no like synergy between conspiracies.
Yeah. So like
it didn't build upon itself.
My favorite version of that is, you know, back in the day, we all had that one friend with a shitty older brother who lived in the basement well into his 20s, who would tell us all this weird and crazy, who tells all this weird and crazy nonsense. Now everyone just has Joe Rogan. Like it's
it's I call it lazy conspiracy theory, man. You used to have to like go out to Montana and like build a house and put up an AM radio receiver and dial in at the right time to listen to your fucking nonsense. And you had to do the work and you had to pass out the leaflets. Now you just Google your fucking craziness.
And then you tweet it out and then get banned like what's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene did again for the 4th time, actually.
So news from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been banned from Twitter. It's not a permaban, it's a temp suspend, and
apparently one more and it could be permanent. Could be though.
I think it's 5. I think it's 5 if all 5 are serious enough. So she's on number 2 of 5 suspensions. And it was for tweeting out, let's see, and spin the wheel of conservative bullshit and stop. It was COVID-19 vaccination conspiracy theories.
She was saying, it's not working as well as.
She told her followers that she was going to try to convince the FDA to never approve the COVID vaccines. So that would be. Yeah,
the most frustrating thing about this is I had an argument.
She has power. She has power. So I mean, she could tell them that. Hopefully, they won't listen to her. But
she has a single vote. She's been stripped of all of her committee assignments and all that kind of stuff.
I had an argument.
People realize that she's fucking crazy.
I had an argument with somebody about this, and I said to them, I went, "Okay." I go, "Well, then what is the end game?" And they went, "I don't know, but I know they have one."
No, can we talk about my favorite end game?
Marvel.
Mike Lindell, Infinity War.
Mike Lindell,
I've collected all the bellows, folks. And now the rats they keep clawing at the walls.
Mike Lindell and the Infinity votes. So what he's been claiming, apropos of nothing, since the election, is that Donald Trump actually won 49 of the 50 states.
Yep.
Including
like
California.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. So like
which one did he lose?
He lost Wisconsin. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Wisconsin.
Reagan,
why do they believe that?
Well, because Wisconsin used to be a huge union state, and Reagan wasn't really a fan of unions, so he lost Wisconsin, but won everything else.
Okay. So I was about to ask which one Reagan lost. So I guess Wisconsin.
Reagan also lost the District of Columbia, but he only lost one state. He lost one state and the District of Columbia. Yeah, dude, DC. It is actually fucking hilarious. If you look at the election returns from the 2016 election, DC went like 85% for Hillary, went 85% for Hillary Clinton. In like the 2012 election, it went like 82% for Barack Obama. In the 2008 election, it went like 81%. So it's hovering around 80. This last election, it went 98.5% for Joe Biden. Like the people of Washington, D.C. were done with your boys' shit. They were completely done. But anyway, so Mike Lindell has been claiming for months now.
That's what he gets for gassing them. I mean
that well, it's that China hacked the election. They did a hack, you guys. And he's very, very sure that this happened. but anytime he's been asked for proof, he hasn't been able to generate any proof. And here's part of the reason why. It doesn't exist because it didn't happen. But that's not going to stop Mike
I was waiting for
Lindell.
you to go into like a more nuanced explanation. You're like, no, here's why.
I feel like he comes up with all these theories because he never gets any good sleep because he can't. Because how is he supposed to sleep with all the scratching inside of the My Pillows?
So he's identified. He's identified. I think the what he said is it's like 10 to 15 counties which swayed the election, which actually went overwhelmingly to Donald Trump, again, according to him, but are historically, that's not the case. So it's like Gwinnett County, Georgia. Right. Gwinnett County, Georgia, it's the Atlanta metro area. It's usually, it's a Democratic stronghold. This would be the equivalent of Washington, D.C. flipping. Okay. Right. So anyway, what he's claiming is that China hacked the election data and changed the results. Here's the problem with that claim, besides the fact that they didn't because they can't, is that they didn't because they can't. So it's and I think I've explained this before on this podcast, but I don't think anybody that actually watches or listens to us thinks that the election was hacked and stolen, and Donald Trump is actually still the God Emperor president in infinitum. And
we had one Russian really mad at us one time.
Oh yeah. We loved our troll so much that we made him leave us alone because we kept
responding to him. We never stopped.
As a pet. You have to keep them as a pet. That's engagement.
We did. We engaged the shit out of him so much that he got tired of talking to us. Like our troll blocked us.
Yeah. we try. Like I am not averse to confrontation. As soon as I see someone like yelling at us, I yell right back.
I was engaging him, and Wilder was writing him like mini civics essays in response to everything he said.
I forgot that. Yeah, I wrote him like
1,000
words. Yeah, done.
Oh no, I was gonna say like to anyone how to debunk the shit that Mike Lindell was talking about, how China hacked the election systems. Here's how they couldn't and why they didn't. Okay, so at least in Georgia. All right, I don't know how election systems are set up elsewhere, but here, and I'm pretty sure it's federally required, the voting machines and the ballot machines, which are two different things, are not hooked up to the internet. They're not hooked up to the internet. Very, very, very fucking difficult to hack a system on the other side of the planet with that system not being connected to the internet. So that's just part number one. Part number two, he and Donald Trump have both said that, the guts of the machine, they were switching them out and all this kind of stuff. I would like to know which machine they're talking about, because they've never really said what machine they're talking about. But that's neither here nor there, because in Georgia,
the more specifics they use, the easier it is to disprove it.
We have ballots. We have paper ballots. We did 2 hand recounts of the paper ballots and never found more than 100 miscast votes. That's not fraud. That's a rounding error.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And here's the thing. So, and I've explained this before on this podcast, but just for anybody who cares to listen, here's how the voting machines in Georgia and a lot of other places in the country work. So I show up on day of. I have, or in early voting, I have my driver's license. I show them my driver's license. They have me fill out a piece of paper on a tablet. I hand that piece of paper back to them. They have run my driver's license through a machine to confirm that I'm a voter at where I'm voting at. They hand me my license back and they give me a little green card. It's a card like a debit card. It has that little chip on the inside of it. All that card holds is my name and the fact that the machine should give me a ballot. Now, if this were a primary, it would tell the machine, oh, he needs a Republican ballot or he needs a Democratic ballot. But that's the only information that's on the machine. So you go to you walk up to the voting machine, you put your card in, it generates a ballot, you punch out, on the screen, your ballot, you hit next, it tells you to check everything that you've just done. Then you tell it, yes, I'm sure. It prints a piece of cardstock that has all of my vote written, like printed on it. So I can see, oh, yes, I did vote for that. I can double check it. Then you take it over to a completely separate machine, hand a very nice 70-year-old woman the card that was handed to me. And then you take that piece of paper and you put it into the ballot counter, and that's what counts the ballots. And then all the paper ballots go into a lockbox on the bottom of basically this giant industrial scanner. And inside that machine are two SD cards, solid state drives. And those are what is tabulated for the computer count. And then the ballots themselves are counted for a hand recount.
But by the time you explain all this, I could have yelled
Georgia.
fake news like 300 times.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
It's so much easier to shout lies and to carefully explain to them the nuances of the truth.
It is genuinely frustrating watching. CNN sat down with Mike Lindell, and the reporter is sitting there going, he literally, words that left his mouth were, "Sir, I don't think you understand how voting works." Like this may be an actual like civics, academic civics problem. Like Mike Lindell seems to not understand how voting works. But here's the thing. So he's having a symposium. It's going to be online, but it's going to be hosted out of like his hometown. And it's going to be online.
So I think he's been banned from like everywhere else.
Yeah. So it's going to be held online, but he gave CNN 4 screenshots that to you or me, it just looks like matrix code. But the CNN took them and they went, okay, so you're finally presenting us with evidence. They took it to 9 separate cybersecurity experts who just said, this is voting machine metadata. It doesn't say anything. It's just machine language of the machine saying, ooh, I got a ballot. Ooh, I got a ballot. Ooh, I got a ballot.
Right.
Like that's all it shows. It wouldn't even be. It's what I think happened is one beleaguered IT person at MyPillow HQ has been hassled by Mike Lindell for months
to come up with something, anything. So he's just like, here,
sir,
here's some stuff
sir,
that you don't understand, sir.
I fixed the printers. Here, that's what I do. We sell pillows. I fix the printers. I keep the Wi-Fi working. And he's like, no, you got to find me evidence of election fraud. Can you hack the system? And the guy just finally got tired and just went, all right, fine.
Why not?
Oh, leave the room, sir. I'm hacking. I don't want you to get hacked while I'm hacking.
We're in the mainframe.
Full on NCIS. You get someone else, and they're both typing on the same keyboard at the same time.
We got all the evidence of election fraud. Quickly stick it inside of my pillow. It'll be safe there.
So I feel bad. Like we were talking about, like Mike Lindell's an honest to God, rags to riches, was smoking crack, had a vision, made the MyPillow, became a millionaire.
From an honest to goodness broke crackpot to an honest to goodness millionaire crackpot.
But I had a boss. I've had bosses like Mike Lindell that. I don't remember if this boss did coke or crack, whatever. Either way, he was definitely like we would sit at work on our break, smoke cigarettes, and just talk conspiracy theories. And now I just think about that boss. I'm like, what if he had $1 million?
Yeah.
And you're the president. Oh, former president now.
Yeah.
Putin's puppet.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, because I want to make sure we get to everything today. Do you guys remember Amber Geiger?
I know what a Geiger counter is.
So this was the
I know who HR Geiger is.
This was the Amber Geiger, or sorry, Geiger, whatever. She doesn't.
Amber Geiger.
Point is,
I know what Amber is. Are we talking about the
woman, the cop who basically went into the wrong apartment and shot a man to death while he was eating his ice cream?
Yeah.
Well, recently, of course, she was so sorry about it, yet she still, appealed her sentence to have it overturned. Well, a Texas appeals court upheld her 10-year prison sentence for murdering Botham Jean. As much as that is a fucking miscarriage of justice that she got 10 years for fucking shooting a guy to death in his own apartment because she's too stupid to fucking figure out numbers. I love that they're like, even in Texas, they go, no, this was fucked up. You should stay in jail.
Is this this is the person that it seemed like she was actually having an affair with him or something?
Yeah,
that case.
There was some stuff about it that seemed
because the neighbors were saying, "Oh, we've seen them together before," or something like that.
Yeah, there was some real heeky shit, which made me think that, like,
we covered this on the podcast forever ago.
Yeah. It's
the initial story. I mean,
I think she has an appeal that she can go one higher to like the Texas Supreme Court, but that's like her last.
Oh God, speaking of the Texas Supreme Court, did you hear that they just said that it's okay to arrest Democrats that don't show up for legislation?
They've been,
yeah.
they've been talking about that, and like they were talking about also doing that to Republicans, and I want to say Oregon that didn't show up. There was a whole walkout thing, but so right now she's staying in jail and fucking good because, you know, we talked about that story. At best, she's
You'll
the
love
most.
to see it.
She is more incompetent than Barney Fife.
Oh golly,
That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, she coldly gunned down a guy and it was like, "Oh no, I'm in the wrong apartment."
I think that's what it was. Like she just wanted to kill him and was going to use. Well, no, it's fine. I'm white.
I just
But
couldn't believe
work.
that you could claim castle doctrine if you were stupid. Like I could walk into a Walmart and be like, "Who are you people?" and just start shooting cashiers, and then go to court and be like, "You know what? I'm sorry, I was confused. I thought the Walmart was my home, and that it was under attack by a whole bunch of people in blue vests." What an asshole! But
imagine the precedent that would set. It would make it so much easier for what do you call it? Like mass shooters to get away with it. They wouldn't have to kill themselves when they're done. They'd just be like, "Oh, thought it was my home. My bad.
That was my house. Whoops, didn't realize it was a target." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, in the mass shooter's defense, the store is called Target.
Exactly.
What do you want? What do you want me to do? What? It's called Target. What do you want? I mean, come on.
They call it a Walmart. There's no walls keeping me out. Clearly, they wanted me in and to shoot them.
Build that Walmart. Build that Walmart.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, maybe that could fix our border crisis if we just build a string of Walmarts across the border instead of a wall.
100% believe, because while I have not worked in the construction industry, you know that the construction industry is hella fucking conservative politically. And I know for a fact that at some point over the last 6 years, someone building a Walmart has annoyed the fuck out of his coworkers by going, "Build that Walmart, build that Walmart," every day for the 80 days they were building this Walmart. I guarantee you that happened.
Somebody definitely
the whole time.
Somebody definitely went to the emergency room with some nail gun wounds that they didn't need to have. You know what I mean? And just like, if you say it one more time.
Just once more, Greg. Just once more.
So which direction do we want to go to next? We've got some Pete's Science Corner. We have two Dear Wesleys this time because these are both weird in their own way.
That's good because I don't have it. Everything in the past was terrible. It was all bad. Just trust me.
It absolutely was.
I was just going to talk about Blizzard more, but we can skip over that because we know the gist of it.
I would love to talk about Blizzard Activision.
What I don't understand with Blizzard was like how this behavior went on for so long, so egregiously, and like
it was baked into the culture, and everyone was expected to believe that this was normal behavior.
But I mean, it's
obviously the video games are to blame. I said it. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but
us and our good buddy Jack Thompson here is
if you're telling me that like no sexual harassment lawyers like caught wind of this, like because it's been going on for years. Because I imagine if I was like a lawyer that handled that, I'd be like, "Oh my God, baby, we're gonna get that boat and that house." Like, you know, woo! Like this is gonna be, man. I'm gonna be my own partner. I'm gonna be so well off with this case, you know.
Well, they noticed it like 2 years ago, and the state of California opened an investigation then.
Right.
So they've been looking into it for the past 2 years. And fun fact, Blizzard was aware of this investigation going on, and they did not tell their shareholders until this big lawsuit came up. So now they're in a fuckload of trouble because their shareholders are like, "Excuse me, what? You knew that this was going to happen? You knew that the value of the stock was going to be hurt by this, and you didn't tell us?" So they have a very real, excuse to go to court over this.
I really enjoy how the CEO was like, "You know what, I'm very disappointed and I plan to move forward and learn." And I'm like, "No,
Bobby
get
Kotick.
out. Get the hell out." Like that would be like if fucking Hitler made like an apology statement at the end of World War II where it's like, "You know what, guys? Listen,
you know what? Maybe I was exaggerating a bit about the Jews.
I understand now that doing a Holocaust is a bad thing, and I just look forward to the ability to learn and grow as a person." Like, get the fuck out.
I did hear another conspiracy theory that Hitler didn't kill himself. Of course, but it's a conspiracy theory, and one that I haven't heard before. But that Hitler's whole deal, he didn't flee to Brazil or Argentina, but that Hitler's entire deal, this was a conspiracy theory that I heard, was that he was in cahoots with Lenin and Stalin the whole time, and that he purposefully got in charge of Germany, fermented all this shit up, and then declared war on the Soviet Union so that the Soviet Union could come in and destroy Germany and have all of Eastern Europe to itself. And that's why Hitler came to power and was so successful everywhere else, but then lost to Russia.
So basically, Hitler was
a very old man in his own dacha somewhere outside of St. Petersburg.
So basically, Hitler was a prize fighter that was throwing the big fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could see that where their train of logic is going from, because it really does sound like the prize fighter, where they're just like, they're doing so well, but then they're all like, we'll give you money if you throw this fight, champ. And he's like, all right.
Except for the fact that, I don't know, all of evidence, everything, all books,
except for all the evidence that says you're wrong. I mean, sure, I could see it.
Except if you ignore what's going on, maybe it was a robot revolution. We're all part of some AI thing now.
Except for the literal tons of evidence that exist in both written and physical form and in living memory. Except for all of that.
But have you considered that maybe you're just a brain in a jar, Peter? You're seeing a simulation, and tomorrow is whatever we program it to be.
Right, man. If this is a simulation,
yesterday is whatever we program it to be, man.
I always say, if this is a simulation, why the fuck am I not better looking?
I mean, you're not in charge of your own program.
Are there other simulations running at the same time, like a simulation?
Yeah, are we real, or are we just like NPCs?
That's what we should. That's what we should have named this podcast: 3 Brains in a Jar.
Exactly. 2 brains in a jar, and one's a simulation.
And then we just go, what's even real? One? I love it when people get to when you push conspiracy theories down to the fabric of reality.
How do you know what is real versus what's not real? At the end of the day, that's really what it boils down to. How can you separate reality from fantasy? And that's where I usually use what's the principle called? Newton's flaming laser sword, where anything
I love this. I'm in for it.
Anything you can't run experiments to verify one way or the other is not worth discussing. If you can't experiment with it, then why talk about it?
Yeah, well, philosophically, I had issues with first principles when I was studying Descartes. When he's like, well, I think, therefore I am, because thoughts are something. And I'm like, yeah, but how do you even get to that point where you're like, thoughts are something? I struggle. You have to, you got to start somewhere. And that was where I got stuck on for a long time. I'm like, but then where the fuck do you start? How do you prove the first
that you're
thing?
Thinking?
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, a computer can be programmed to say that it's thinking, but is it? Or is it just saying that because you told it to say that?
So I just kind of let that go and move past, because it was kind of like a circular fucking, you'll never get.
Yeah, it's circular logic.
Yeah, you'll never crack it, which drove me crazy.
But speaking of circular logic, so Mike Morhaime, the previous president of Blizzard, he did a few years ago, I guess around the time that this lawsuit was coming up.
Do you think he just opened the door, saw all the sexual harassment happening over a cubicle farm, and just closed the door back and was like, I'm out?
That could very well be it, because Jalen Brack that took his place, he got a lot of the fallout for this, and he did just resign. He wasn't demoted, he just left Blizzard, right? He's gone.
Right. Because
he was thrown under a bus, right? It wasn't him that created this culture. He came in, and apparently he's been trying to mitigate it for the last few years and trying to fix it, but it was just so much. And then the lawsuit came out, and he did send a secret email throughout the company saying, fuck, we're working on this so hard, and now they went public with this. I can't believe they did that. Then everyone's all like, oh, you're blaming the people investigating you. And he's just like, fuck it. And he left. I sort of see where he's coming from with that email. He was trying. It's not his thing that he created. He could have handled it differently, certainly, name and shame the harassers,
or fire them, fire all of them. Fire the you know what I mean? Fuck it.
They've been working on it. The biggest creep of them all, Alex, is some F word. He was one of the biggest creeps of them all, and he was let go. And a bunch of others they were slowly letting go, because Alex had the at different gatherings, at BlizzCon and stuff. He would always rent a hotel room, and they would nickname it the Cosby Suite.
Oh.
Like that's how bad it was.
Yeah, I would just meet everybody in like a big auditorium and be like, "Hey, guys, just a quick, just let me get a round of hands. How many people have sexually harassed somebody?" And everybody that like raised their hands, I'd be like, "Well, you're all fired just to start with, and we'll get." I would do it Russian style, just decimations.
Mhm. Yeah, whenever you said peeking out and seeing just like all the cubicles and all the harassment going on, apparently that was literally a thing that was going on. Like people would get drunk at work, which okay, by itself, that's cool. But what's not cool is that then they would go from cubicle to cubicle, what they would call like a cubicle crawl, like a bar crawl, and get more drunk and like handsy and gropey from each cubicle to cubicle. And as they were now no longer doing their work for the day, they would target specifically female employees and say, "Here, all of my work is now yours. You do it so I can keep drinking and go over there and play Call of Duty."
I would have so much pepper spray in my cubicle. Just anytime
Mhm.
someone came by, I'd just be like, "You want to?" Yeah, get the fuck
Mhm.
out. So fucking terrible.
And
all right.
there's like even more testimonials since this came out. People have started to do, like secret emails to various content creators online saying, "Look, this is other stuff that's been going on." There's been twitlongers about people giving their side of things. A lot of this is coming
My
out.
biggest question in all of this
Where's Mike Lindell?
Mhm.
no. Well, we
Behind
already
Bobby said.
Yeah, he's behind me. Ah,
But yeah, your biggest question is? Oh, he's
my biggest question is,
clearing at you.
Activision Blizzard. Okay. Why couldn't this have happened to EA? Like, why couldn't someone just take out Electronic Arts? Like, because seriously, fuck them. Like,
Very likely it's happening
you're
there.
gonna
Like
tell me,
the more
you're gonna look at the shit that EA pumps out, and you're gonna tell me that's a healthy work environment. I don't buy it. I
I'm
don't
just
buy
saying-
it.
you can
I'm just
tell
saying-
the decline of the work environment if you look at their work over the past few years. You could see them like at their peak, and then like around the time the lawsuit starts is whenever they were taking like a massive decline
You
in
can
quality.
probably, I mean, like EA, it's probably hard to sexually harass people in EA because there's probably a ton of microtransactions you have to pay to continue your harassment.
Yeah, like do you not want to be harassed today? That'll be just $5.
Like EA
But
probably
it's a
has,
loot box. You open the loot box and either I don't get sexually harassed today, or gropey hands.
right? Or like
What
I'm
would be
sure
absolutely insane is if what comes out of this, something insane happens, like Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard or fucking Nintendo or something. That would be because like
well,
I so want
this
like
is-
Nintendo
this is,
or
like, it's
Capcom or
bad,
something
and
to
it's bad
consume
from-
Konami. But that's
it's
neither
bad
here nor
from
there.
a PR standpoint. It's bad from violence in the office place standpoint. It's bad from a shareholder standpoint. I mean, this is, they are in a very active blizzard of shit.
yeah.
Like, it's,
They should just
oh my
change their
God,
name to
episode
Shit Blizzard.
title. Holy shit. A very
Yeah.
active blizzard of shit.
Yeah.
It's rough. And I mean, the Blizzard we have today is nothing like the Blizzard we had of the past anyway, but it's also people from the past that did part of what we have today. Like Mike Morhaime allowed this culture to be created because I see where he was going with it. Like in the beginning, they saw themselves, the original creators of Blizzard saw themselves as rock stars. And so they pushed this rock star mentality out. And everyone
Yeah.
took that to mean, oh, it's okay to grope and harass all the women around us. And it just sort of manifested and festered from there.
The older I get, the more I'm just attracted to what I call a shopkeep mentality.
Mhm.
Where like I'm just like, yeah, man, let's set aside some money reasonably to invest in a 401k, and let's all go home at 5 o'clock and be with our families.
Yeah.
See, this is why I am very attracted to the ideology of syndicalism, basic democracy in the workplace. Like,
Yeah.
the manager works here at the behest of the actual workers. Like,
Right,
if
right.
you're the manager, like say Weldon are the workers and Peter is and Peter is the manager, and he touches Linda inappropriately, and Linda comes to us and is like, Pete touched Linda inappropriately, we'd be like, oh, very bad of you, Pete. And then we could gather all of the other workers together and be like, hey, Pete, get fucked, go find another job.
Right. And
like,
they'll be all like, he
you know,
touched me too. But like upper management wouldn't be able to protect my incompetence because like that's what happens with middle managers
Mhm.
for some reason, the
Well, and
way
it's
it
also-
works.
and it's also good, like middle management was very important before the advent of computers.
Right.
Like you needed delegation, you needed, someone to really sort this out. And now with computers, and especially with workplace, I'm going to call them workplace social media stuff, like Teams and other stuff like that, like Teams and GroupMe and all that sort of stuff. You really don't like, and it's actually, you really don't need middle management. And what's been proven actually is that the more that upper management delegates to the workers,
Right.
not only does along with a pay increase, not only does that improve efficiency, but that also improves like things like innovation and productivity and all that kind of stuff. And so if you cut middle management, like the whole idea of flattening corporate hierarchies is being borne out in the capitalist system, that if you flatten the hierarchy as much as you possibly can, like there still needs to be a logistics department and a manufacturing department and a shipping department, but like bring the person in charge of that, instead of reporting to a section or regional manager, they just report directly to the CEO.
Well, I think the best example of that is if you remember that episode of The Office where they just didn't have a manager for a while.
Yeah, and everything was going really
and he's like, it turns out people just come in on their own schedule and do work, and that's because we're all adults. I felt that way. I felt that way so much in my life, like because right now I guess it's a little bit different because I work for like the city, like for the Department of Education.
You work for the man.
But we also don't have middle managers. You have like the principal that runs the school, and then you have the head of each department, and like that's it. And it's great because
the head of each department would be your middle management.
Kind of, but like each department is, I feel like that's more like you were just describing the logistics and you know what I mean? Like, because there's nobody between the head of my department and me. You know what I mean? Like where I feel like when I worked at Macy's, I had like 6 middle managers who were also always very confused about everything.
And if you make one mistake in your TPS report, you'd hear it from all 6 of them.
Working at Best Buy, the dude that ran the home theater department one day. So I work for Best Buy Mobile. Technically, Best Buy Mobile is a brand within Best Buy. Like we're not, Best Buy Mobile is separate. You actually have standalone Best Buy Mobile stores. So technically, what is Best Buy Mobile inside your local Best Buy is a store within a store.
Right.
It's just also owned by Best Buy. But anyway, so like our budget was separate, our acquisition was separate. We got shipments on different days of the week than the rest of the store. Right. And one day our manager was sick and our assistant manager was out of town. And so they just said, all right, home theater's gonna manage mobile today. This motherfucker made us stay an hour after close, quote unquote, cleaning, while he went and sat in an office to watch us on CCTV. That's what happened. I was so pissed. I was pissed. Fuck middle management. It's completely unnecessary. Fuck your boss too. Like fuck boss. Seriously.
For the most part. Yeah. So speaking of
organize and democratize your workplace today for fun.
Speaking of fucked, an IPCC report shows possible loss of entire countries within the century due to climate change. Apparently Pacific Island nations that are already being battered by like the tides and the cyclones. Like I feel like there's a lot of Pacific Islands that are like, woo, we didn't get colonized, where we're like, well, don't worry, we're gonna get to you. In that the sea level is going to just make your whole country disappear.
You know, I'm kind of in favor of the end of the world because one of my biggest fears of death is all the FOMO I have of all the shows I'm going to miss after I'm dead. But if I know civilization has completely collapsed right before I die, I don't have to wonder, I wonder who the 32nd Doctor is going to be in Doctor Who. I know now that I have seen that show all the way up to its very last episode, there is nothing left for me in this world. I can die peacefully.
I just want to see what I really like to see is I'd love to see some kind of cosmic Deadpool for like what's going to get all of us individually and then collectively first. You know what I mean? Because to go along with this, my Pete Science Corner, if you will, my like, come on kids, sit down, I'll tell you some science. The The Potsdam Institute is predicting an imminent Gulf Stream collapse.
How bad's that gonna be?
Apparently not good, because I was like, why will that be bad? And I looked it up, and apparently the Gulf Stream is the strongest ocean current in the world, and if it collapsed, it's supposed to bring like global cooling and like massive disruption and die-offs, which I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to meet with the global warming.
Oh no.
That's
well,
and
happen. Here's the thing about, because the Gulf Stream collapsing, it's been used for like crackpot doomsday predictions for a while, and it was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was like it's the only reason Europe is temperate, and that's because, I mean, you got to remember, like, Britain is at the same latitude as Nova Scotia,
Right.
but Britain is a much more temperate climate than Nova Scotia. And they've since then, it's going to, were the Gulf Stream to collapse, right now, we would see like a 50-year period of maybe a degree or two of cooling. Europe is heated by a lot of different things, not least of which is the Mediterranean. It's not saying like the entire North Atlantic's going to freeze over, but the part of the problem, the biggest problem of the Gulf Stream shutting down is not global cooling or Britain will freeze over or whatever. It's actually the nutrients that get taken from the mid and South Atlantic, and it's literally the current that becomes the North Atlantic current, like what's behind Pete's right shoulder. No, your right shoulder. There you go. The stuff coming up through the Caribbean, that comes from under South America, out of, it's a deep current. It comes under South America, goes up the African coast. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to point on my screen at Pete's picture. It comes up the African coast. It's part of what drives hurricanes. Anyway, then it goes into the Gulf of Mexico, swoops around as you see it there. And so, it's going to
collapse. No more hurricane season. Gotcha.
All of that. Well, no, it's all of that energy has to go somewhere if it's no longer going to the North Atlantic, which means that the Mid-Atlantic could heat up if it just gets into like a little circular thing. But to stop,
already been heating up like hell. Speaking of, this year's been brutal. I had 110-degree day recently.
Oh yeah, we've been getting heat indexes in triple digits down here in Georgia as well. It's or down here on the coast as well. And but anyway, so it's more than likely, if the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic current, if it were to collapse, it would fairly rapidly get back on track. And we do have some like geological evidence that it's done this periodically.
It's happened before.
Yeah. But it's happened before, but it's never been like a permanent thing.
Right.
So
well, the bigger problem is what'll happen with like further climate disruption that's already happening, and like loss of species and stuff like that.
The moon's going to start wobbling, and it's going to fuck us all up. Like, it's
what'd be great? We talked about this before on this podcast. There was two things that were missing that would happen in the mills would be great. One would be a solar flare, because we're super overdue for one.
Like the what was it called? The Carrington event.
Yes, was it like in the 1870s, right? Where even like telegraph operators got burned and shit. But that was before we had all the electronics. That, and a really cool thing, I think it's called the
hella fucked. Like the next time that happens,
I think it's called the Kessler effect. It's the idea all these objects.
The United States will be fine, but Texas will be in a blackout for months. It's
there's a thing that'll happen too around the planet where like if like these satellites and all the space junk finally hit each other, it's gonna cause a whole bunch of mini explosions and collisions, and then we'll be just surrounded with like shotgun pellets. And
that was
destroy all the
very
satellites.
first Pete Science Corner way back in episode 2 or whenever it was.
So one day it'll all get one day it'll all come together.
That effect,
Kessler effect.
Kessler. Right. Oh,
so we got a couple of minutes left. Do we want to get to our dear Wesley?
Both of them.
I will say very quickly, though, that Kessler effect could be like our great blockade to the rest of the universe. Because they're saying that, every great civilization has some kind of wall that comes up that prevents them from, sending super intelligent life to deep, deep space. That could be what happens to us. Like, we don't wipe out our own planet or species, but instead we just have so much shit in the atmosphere that every time we send a rocket up, it gets hit by something and explodes.
Can you imagine that?
We we can build rockets sturdy enough to break through.
Yeah,
We
it's
can,
the disruption.
yeah.
It's the disruption of all the satellite tech that would be the bigger problem right now.
One of the craziest things that I learned, though, okay, so like we all know the rocket equation, right? Like you have to carry a payload into orbit, so you need enough fuel to carry the payload, but then you need enough fuel to carry that fuel. Then you need enough fuel to carry that fuel. Then you need enough fuel to carry that fuel. Then you need enough fuel to, like, you know, traveling long distances.
It's like Zeno's paradox,
like
with rocket fuel.
Interstellar travel, you know, unless we find like a breakthrough miracle technology like warp drive or hyperspace or something, it's not going to happen. But no, what's actually fucking insane, and it's a wonderful YouTube channel if you want to check it out. It's called Science Fiction and Futurism with Isaac Arthur, and it is an absolutely amazing YouTube channel. But one of the things that he's brought up, that they've brought up, I guess now it's they, but not because he is non-binary, but because it's a group of people, is that life can evolve on a planet where the gravity is so strong, traditional rockets don't work. The Delta V is just too much to get anything off the surface. And that is, I mean, that could be keeping a lot of aliens, because we have found a bunch of super Earths, like, you know, 3-4 times the Earth's mass, that could be keeping sentient aliens from,
that would be super dope,
being able to blast
those guys.
That would just be the idea of leaving the planet could be the work of science fiction to
those
them.
guys are going to revolutionize soccer, man. Can you imagine how hard they can kick?
If we could like somehow get them off their planet, like throw a swing set down, pull them up, and then
and that's one way to do it, is actually have an orbital hook, but you have to get the orbital hook up there first. Like, that's the problem. Which an orbital hook would be a good way to get to get interplanetary travel going. You just have a bunch of cables rotating in orbit around the Earth, and every once in a while they come in and swoop through the atmosphere, and then a plane will catch onto them and just be carried off into the upper atmosphere and then get into orbit. Like, that's a really cheap way to put shit in orbit. You just have to build the hook first and get it up there, and that's the hard part. Plus, we don't know what we know what the hook would be built of, we know what the counterweight would be built of, and we understand the orbital mechanics that would make it work. We have absolutely no idea what the tether would be built out of.
I was going to say, you hear that, Branson and other billionaires going to space? Build the hook.
Exactly.
Build that hook. Build that hook.
Well, build the cable. Build the cable. God damn it, build the cable.
That's a problem, Bobby. You're too smart. You're not you got to come up with some dumb phrasing. Like, people are like, build that cable. That doesn't just have the same ring as
done. You have 3 syllables to get your point across then.
Right.
We
can't call it a train, guys. We cannot call it a train. They are linked.
Cable train. Cable train. Cable train.
All right, so
I am a lineman for the Starfleet.
You know what? I'm gonna write that. I like that. I love that song. I'm gonna write that whenever I get off this podcast, because
that's a line from Mystery Science Theater 3000. I think it's from the episode. I think it's from the episode Space Mutiny, one of my favorite episodes. That's the one where the super buff guy, Reb Brown, played by Reb Brown, and they just keep giving him the wrong name. They're like, Blast, Hard Cheese.
I think I've seen that one. Is that when they're in the little scooters? Yeah, and they're just like Buff Tugwell. Like,
Toro. These things are made by Toro.
Heart pounding, veins clogging. Mitchell.
Our favorite is Mitchell with Oh God, what is? Yeah, I remember.
By the way, Calgon, we need more of you.
All right, so
the bad guy's name was Calgon. For fuck's sake,
dear Wesley.
Wesley.
The landlord rented out the other room. So this guy rents like a room, I guess, in a house. The landlord rented out the other room to a mom and her 2-year-old daughter. Wasn't a big fan of the idea, but I have no input who gets the room, since each is a separate lease. I quashed the idea very early on that I will watch, feed, or entertain the kid in any way. She's asked a few times for me to watch her daughter just for a bit, or share food that I have ordered, but I've made it clear that will not happen ever. So here's the problem. She texted me on Saturday while I was playing a game that she had a family emergency and I need to watch the kid overnight. No response to my texts after that. Fuck that. So I called the cops on them and told them the child was abandoned. And then I went to a movie and put my phone on silent. The mom is upset. The landlord got involved. And this guy wants to know, basically, dear Wesley, did I make the right call?
I gotta say, what Bobby thinks is, yeah, this guy's the asshole. Like, I can understand I'm not your regular child sitter, but family emergency. I mean,
Right,
whether or
right.
not it's real, you're just a garbage human being for especially calling the cops. That's yeah.
The only thing the main thing I'd have a problem with is that he left to go see a movie and just didn't stick around to make sure the 2-year-old was okay until the cops got there.
That's what a lot of the responses are. A lot of the responses to this, Dear Wesley, was just like, everyone sucks here, but you just left a 2-year-old. Like, you don't know, cop response times aren't
Yeah,
fast.
there's not a
Yeah.
good person in this scenario.
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
you didn't have to crown yourself king asshole of the rat king heap. Like,
Right.
yeah.
No, I do agree. I think everybody here sucks. Also, I've read a couple of these now where people are just like, they just leave their kid with some random person or stranger or whatever.
That has happened to me too. Like in group assignments, I met up with someone at the library because we had like a project to work on for class, and she showed up there with her 2 like really young children, and then she's like, "Oh, something came up. I got to go. Could you watch them for a bit?" She left, and I was just there with the kids for like an hour and a half.
It's like, I don't have a problem with the kids. I'm just like, you don't know me. How do you know that I'm not like, dear diary, jackpot? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
like, good God, like, I mean, how long was it we knew till the subway guy was a creeper? You know, like,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
leave your
Well,
don't leave your kids.
actually, like early on that early on in Gerald Fogel's career, like, local news got a hold of it that, oh, this guy, he lost so much weight by like walking a whole bunch and only eating Subway. And now he's a spokesman, rags to riches. It's America. Yay, capitalism. Yeah, capitalism solved his obesity. Anyway, like, and like they were going to do stories like, a profile on like this local guy who, made it big. And yeah, all whenever they're like talking to the people who lived in the apartment complex that he lived in whenever he lost all the weight, were like he had just gotten famous, and people are like, wait, you're talking about the creepy guy? Jared,
Oh, no.
Jared, the creepy guy from D7, like that guy.
They probably should have
famous
talked to him
for
before they made him their
sandwiches?
mascot.
Yeah, no,
Does
they may
my
have wanted to
question is,
do.
does
It's
nobody
like a whole nother Harvey Weinstein type thing. Like
yeah
everyone
body
knew.
knew? Does like, that's the thing with like these,
That's apparently Subway. Like,
does
yeah,
nobody
or
do the
their
homework? Like the guy that just for some reason decided LeVar Burton wasn't popular enough to host Jeopardy, so they got some producer to host it, and then immediately
Oh
everybody
my
goes,
God.
everyone goes, oh wait, this producer guy is named in a bunch of sexual harassment suits and like wrongful termination by pregnant women and all kinds of other horrible stuff, and they're like, how could we have known?
Speaking of, that kind of reminds me of Rosa Parks, because what she did about refusing to give up her seat on the bus was not unique to her, but they were trying to find like who is the perfect icon that we could bring up to
Yeah,
everyone. So they had to find someone who was absolutely
Claudette
beyond
Colvin, right?
reproach.
One of
Sorry?
the like it was like
Reproach.
one of those moments where this is crucially important. We have to do respectability politics. Like, yeah, it's
We have to show that what's going on here is fucked up, and the best way to do it is with someone who they'll not be able to bring any shit up about.
Because I
yeah.
think the
Well,
original
it
girl was
the
like
first,
a
the first
teenager, and
person
she
to
was
do it was a teenager.
Pregnant.
Yeah, and she
right.
yeah, and it was not ideal, especially for getting white liberals on board. So like it was because like a lot of people forget that Martin Luther King Jr. did not get murdered by a CIA operative for trying to get black people civil rights. He was murdered because stage 2 after getting black people rights was a campaign of social activism for economic equality.
Yeah, he started fucking with the money, and that's when they fucking shoot
started
you.
fucking with the money. Yeah, and that was the final straw.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they still do this, but if you ever go like the hotel where he was assassinated is now like a museum of MLK. But I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have on the balcony where he was shot, painted on the ground shoe prints, so you could stand where MLK was standing, and they had it set up with a laser sight from across the way where the assassin was standing.
That seems in bad taste.
Right?
That
It's a bit
feels like it's in
creepy.
bad taste.
Also,
you want to know what else was in bad taste? I don't know if I've talked about this here, but a lot of people, around the whole kerfuffle about they're teaching our kids critical race theory, and then a whole bunch of people go, well, why aren't we teaching them critical? And the fact of the matter is that critical race theory is like a very highly academic treatise on history. No one has ever suggested.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go tell you as someone who teaches the youth every day. Listen, not that I'm setting the bar low, but if I can just get kids to remember events in order, you know what I mean? Like the founding of the country, then the Civil War happened.
Speaking of doing things in the right order, I know it's a bit late, but I just thought of Wesley's response to the
what is
Wesley?
go for it. What is Wesley's response?
Oh, well, now that you have a free baby, what you got to do is take it to Dairy Queen and McDonald's and tell them it's her birthday. Say, my daughter's birthday is today, and then you can get a free ice cream. And then you read it because, the baby isn't your responsibility, but you bring her around. Maybe give her a nice treat after you're full of ice cream.
Leave her at the play place, Who's
I love how us getting onto critical race theory and the hullabaloo around it just triggered what the part of Wilder's brain that's like, oh, free baby, free ice cream.
Exactly.
No. But so a lot of people, a lot of very WMWs, well-meaning white people, got upset, and they were like, well, why isn't there a museum of slavery? And the fact of the matter is that there are museums. These well-meaning white people don't know that they exist. Things like the plantation that plantation out that I pumped before, but also the city of New Orleans is they want to become more of a tourist destination, and so they've got the World War II Museum, the National World War II Museum, and they are also planning. This was kind of put on the back burner because of the Great Recession. The wheels got turning again, and then we got hit by COVID. But anyway, so they wanted to have the National African Slavery History Museum, and they released the plans for it. And it was like this big hullabaloo about, this is something that's really needed, and like all this kind of stuff. But part of the project kind of caught people off guard, and it was they were going to build and keep docked on the river a complete and historically accurate slave ship.
I remember you talking about this. Yeah. And everyone was like,
and they were going to offer day trips on the slave ship up and down the river. And this was going to be, very educational and all this kind of stuff, until a lot of people from New Orleans, especially Black people, were like, so I was reading this, and this looks like, I don't know, Slavery the Ride. Can we not?
Yeah. The only way I'm okay with that ride is if you sign a waiver and you go, all right, get down below deck, tourist. We're going to West Africa and taking this boat, and you're going to get the full fucking experience.
Yeah.
And then we send white people from America to Africa as like a reverse thing.
And then sell them to the local warlord.
Yeah, you guys know one of my favorite books in the world is World War Z.
Yes.
Remember they made a movie that was loosely based on the title of that book?
Okay, so I got something to say about that. The guy that wrote the book, they asked him, they go, this is so different from the book. Why did they buy the rights to your book? Then have you develop a script that they didn't use? And he goes, I don't fucking know. I don't even know why they named it World War Z. They could have done something else with it. Like, why did they buy it and make me write a script and then not use it?
Yeah, because now he can't actually have the World War Z movie made because they've already used the title.
One of my favorite moments in that book is that because originally in the book they think it's a rabies outbreak, and that rabies, a highly infectious strain of rabies, is running rampant through South Africa and parts of Central Asia, and everyone gets this vaccine for rabies, and a whole bunch of people don't want to take the vaccine, and a whole bunch of people are lying about the vaccine, and South Florida is where a shit ton of stuff starts popping off with this new strain of rabies, and it's because a shit ton of people are not vaccinated for this rabies, at least they think, but it turns out it's not actually rabies. Anyway, and a whole bunch of people from South Florida flee the United States as the government begins to collapse and arrive in Cuba. And they have to, like, they're immediately put into refugee camps. So it's like middle class white Southern Floridians are now in refugee camps in Cuba, like all around Havana, and they're like, we're being made to work. We have to do all this farming and all this kind of stuff. And like eventually Cuba sort of morphs into a Caribbean Singapore. And it's I just thought that was one of my favorite parts of the whole
that's
book.
what made me so mad about the movie was the book does such a good job of giving you individual stories and then doing these really amazing
I thought the movie was going to be the story of the narrator from the book.
Right.
Because like we get everyone else's story except his. And that's whenever they were like, oh, Brad Pitt. And he's like, in the trailer, they're like, we need you to come back to the UN. I'm like, oh, good. It's the narrator.
Right.
It'll be the narrator's story. And then it had absolutely nothing to do with the book.
Because the book
like,
does.
Kids read World War Z. It's an amazing fucking book. I wanted to see a cinematic recreation of the Battle of Yonkers.
Right.
And I thought we were going to get that because like in the trailer, they had like, the mid-rise apartments and whatnot that are clearly just outside Manhattan, like on fire and stuff. And like, they're running through a supermarket. I'm like, Battle of Yonkers. Give me the Battle of Yonkers. I want to see it. Like, where the superior military force of the modern U.S. military is defeated by shambling, mindless zombies because they're not fighting the right kind of war.
It would have, if they ever get a chance, I'm like, make it a TV show, release it on Netflix. It's too big for a movie and it's too good, man. Like, I'm actually going to go reread that book now.
Yeah.
Like when this podcast is over, I'm going to reread that book. Do we got time for one more, Dear Wesley?
Sure.
We can. I'm very hungry though, so let's smash this out.
We'll wrap it up here. All right. So Dear
Wesley,
to
get to the free ice cream as fast as possible.
Exactly.
Dear Wesley, I've been back to the gym now that there are 0 cases of corona in my area. I've been a member of this gym for 3 years. I've regularly worked out with 2 other women. One of the women recently brought along her friend. We worked out together. Everything seemed fine. We went to the changing rooms that are open. And so she goes on to describe the changing rooms. Every gym has changing rooms like this that I've ever been to. It's like a big open space. You can see the showers. There's just rows of lockers. So they're there, and the new woman immediately starts making comments about like, I feel like I've died and gone to heaven, referencing all the naked women. So this lady goes to shower, and she's close enough to her friends to hear the other woman go, man, she has my favorite body, flat tits and a fat ass. Try calling her name. I want her to turn around so I can see her pussy. So like the other women with this woman are laughing. The lady in the shower is like, oh my God. So she gets out of the shower. She goes, she sits in the shower till the lady and their sexual predator friend leave, and then goes to the gym and tells them about what happened. And the gym goes, oh no, we're going to revoke her membership immediately. So she gets a text from her friends going like, what happened? She told them that she let the gym know and she was very uncomfortable. So her friends told her that that the girl was just joking and that the comments were just to them and she wasn't meant to hear. She was being a stuck-up homophobic bitch. The other woman also sent a long message about how disappointed she was in me, and she didn't think that I was, quote, one of those. She said in her message I should have come to them before reporting her to the gym. I feel terrible.
Also, no.
What, Wesley, dear Wesley, was I an asshole?
Well, first I'm gonna say, like, okay, so if someone's sexually harassing you, they are not worth the effort to talk to them first. Like, just go ahead and get someone else to deal with them, because someone who is actively sexually harassing you could be fucking dangerous. I don't care what their gender orientation is. So secondly, like, okay, what would Wesley say? Oh, well, you see, you are the asshole, but it's for going to the gym. But I was going to the gyms for assholes. What you got to do is stay home on your couch and watch TV.
I've been in
that free ice cream.
And
I like
free ice cream.
I like how they were like, you're homophobic. And I'm like, I don't think she would have been okay if it was a man that was like, hey, girl, let me see them tits. Like,
yeah,
like a guy walking into the women's shower at a gym. Hey, girl, let me see them titties. Turn around.
Yeah, like I don't think that's what makes it not okay. And the fact that these other friends don't understand that leads me to believe they may not be very good friends,
Yeah, she's joking. Well, I mean, maybe she shouldn't. Maybe she's just never heard in
Well,
her
that's
life
what-
that it's not okay to say things like that to people, and that most people won't take that as a joke. And also, I didn't take it as a joke.
Well, that's what shitty people do, though, right? They do really egregious things. They go, hey,
And then they say,
hey,
I'm
guy.
just joking.
Hey, guy, I'm
Yeah.
just joking. I'm just joking. I would have been like, what the fuck? Is this gym owned by Blizzard? What the
Yeah.
fuck?
That
Like-
really is something that a lot of assholes do, is after being an asshole, they're like, oh, I'm just joking, to try to, like, you know, be like, oh, well, if you're not laughing, then, I mean, or if everyone's not agreeing with me, then clearly I'm just joking. When you give me that look,
Yeah,
it means it was just a
exactly.
joke.
I feel like if I was in the shower and I heard him go, hey,
There's-
get him to turn around so I could see that fucking dang-a-lang, I'd be like, dude.
There's a really great meme that someone created, and I wish it had gotten more traction than it did when it came out like 3-4 years ago. But it's basically like a fedora wearing YouTube intellectual holding a shield that says "It's just jokes, bro," and doing like this, and
Yep.
then behind him is just fucking Nazis. And it's it's not just jokes, bro. It's sexual harassment and far right ideology. Like, yeah, it's that's gross.
I'm already uncomfortable being naked in front of fucking other naked strangers anyway, just in general. I'm like, I don't know these people. And so
Yeah.
I just imagine if I was at the Y and some old guy's like, he's got the body I like, short, fat, and got a little dick. I'd be like, I'm fucking leaving. This is super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
you're like a running commentary while you're trying to take a shower is, my God, it's like everything you'd be scared of taking a shower. And like back in high school, whenever you had to do that stuff.
Yeah, this
around
is
other
pretty
people.
much your I feel like your high school, like a lot of guys' high
Locker
school
room.
fears being played out in this poor lady's
in real
locker
time.
room.
Mhm.
Because also
Yeah.
if she's gonna do that to you, do you think she's not doing that to other people in the locker
Very
room?
likely is doing it to everyone else. So you're making this a much better place for everyone at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Fucking I also like how they not only call her homophobic, but they go, you're stuck up.
Oh, you're such a prude, not wanting to show your vagina to strangers. It's like,
Yeah.
all right.
I thought this was America.
I'm sorry.
In the year of our
I thought
Lord
this was America.
2021.
This is America.
Good Lord.
Well, guys, this is America. Anything you guys want to plug before we call it a day?
Yeah, speaking of going back to school, you can do so in Super Lad, one of the 2 Dusk Belt books. It's about a kid that gets superpowers and does not know how to handle himself with them. So he ends up tearing everything he loves down around him. Very fun.
Kind of like when I went through puberty.
Yeah, basically, it could be considered an allegory for puberty. So check that out. And any of the socials, Pete?
We do a thing on Twitter, I think, and then there's also another thing on an email, but I don't know the names of them.
At Those Muckrakers on Twitter, or thosemuckrakers@gmail.com if you want to send us your own Dear Wesley and find out if you are indeed the asshole, or find out if Wesley wants to have free ice cream with you. Bobby?
Or find out if Wesley wants to have free ice cream because of you.
Very likely. He'll need it after hearing about your story. Oh, that's just so disappointing.
If you're
I can't
interested
believe
in-
those ladies are so mean. I'm going to have tons of free ice cream with this baby I found.
If you're interested in free babysitting, please send us an email at thosemuckrakers@gmail, and we'll give you Wesley's address.
Exactly one email.
Feel free to send. We'll give you the address so you can send your kids straight to Wesley's house.
Yes, and if you'd like to support us and support the podcast, send gold bars and $5 green dot cards to Wesley.
I love green dot cards. Nothing good has ever happened with a green dot card.
Nothing good has
Nothing.
ever happened. Like, there's been a few Christmases that were made good by a green dot card, but everything else is it's scams all the way down.
Yeah, it's just the whole green card industry.
oh,
Just
man.
like turtles holding up the earth all the way down.
Yep.
It's
Turtles,
just green
turtles,
dot
and more
cards.
turtles.
Oh man.
All right, that's everything then. Hit him with the stop recording, Pete.